I went and I would join the Latin Kings. My first week in prison, I encountered a life flight, and the man got stabbed in his sleep. And it was the Latin Kings versus the Hebrew Israelites. And that was the first time I saw a man get stabbed in his sleep. And it was so crazy. And he ended up fighting the police, and he knocked one of the police out, and they ended up jumping on him, and they beat him up bad. Both those guys went to see him. One of the guys got life flighted to a helicopter to a hospital, almost lost his life. And the war broke out. And when I tell you that almost all the Latin Kings were getting shut down by the Hebrews, it was getting real bad. But the guy slept on the Latin King dude, and he stabbed him in his sleep, and he said, "Pray to Yahweh now." And he went to just stabbing him, and he life flighted him.
All right, good afternoon. This is State of Florida versus Stephen Testo with multiple cases before the court.
Yo, what's poppin', man? It's your boy E.I. the King, and this is the Incarceration Podcast, where I talk about prison, pre, post, and present, and how everything that I experienced throughout my incarceration has forever changed my life. This is the Incarceration. So Forever Convict family, once again, we are on the journey to 50,000 subscribers. If you haven't subscribed, please go ahead and do so now. Share this channel with somebody who hasn't.
Yo, what's good? All right, so right now I'm gonna go pull up on my dog, Danny. I first met Daniel whenever he just came home from prison, and I used to work with this prison reform organization, and I had a meeting with one of the head directors. Well, anyways, it was at a church and a transition house. And whenever we had the meeting, there were some guys who were at the transition house, and my dog Daniel was one of them. And he just came home, and very crazy, past street lifestyle, like, myself and a lot of guys in Block Hustle. And he knew about me from the prison tablets. So immediately, man, we just hit it off. You know how it is when you first meet some people and y'all just click. So same thing with me and him. We clicked instantaneously, and we just started building, just briefly on the phone. And so anyways, man, that's my dog. We always, stay in contact, and especially, making sure that his transition's been good. He's been following Jesus. He's on point. So yeah, we link occasionally, and actually, we even do ministry together. He's a part of Block Hustle. At times he hops on the small group discipleship Tuesday nights, and even joins us with street evangelism, just being in the trenches, proclaiming the gospel, making disciples of Jesus Christ, passing out Bibles, so on and so forth. So I'm about to pull up on him right now, see my dog, and so y'all gonna hear his crazy prison story. So he did 7 years, so I'm gonna let him share his experience of incarceration. Y'all say tap in. I'm about to pull up on my dog right now. So we gonna link with Daniel. What's up, Brody? All right?
My brother, how you doing, man?
How you doing, G?
God bless you.
All right, Daniel, man. Danny, my dog, bro. First of all, man, welcome to the Incarceration Podcast. We're gonna go ahead and just dive right into your story, bro. So go ahead and just introduce yourself to the viewer, and begin by sharing your story just briefly about your childhood, your upbringing, and kind of what led you into a lifestyle of crime that eventually led you into prison.
Wow, man. Well, I grew up in a lifestyle with gangs and drugs. My father was a Latin King. My mother was a blood Paru from the Bronx, South Bronx, New York. My mother got indicted, my father got indicted, my father got sent to prison. I only met him a few times, and it was a lot going on. I almost got taken away by DCF from my mother. We went to Philly, and miraculously we came down here to Florida. And I just followed that generational curse of just being in the street and trying to prove myself. Trying to be the baddest there was, the craziest there is, and I wanted respect and power. And I ended up being in a neighborhood gang down here in Tampa called we were located by Lato High School. We used to wreak havoc in the streets, always trying to fight, stealing, robbing. We ended up making alliances with other neighborhoods in Tampa, like West Tampa, Town and Country with the and things even got more crazier. We fell off, we was beefing, you know what I'm saying? So, we was just doing things like that, in the street. And I don't know, man, God miraculously got me out of that too. Got put on probation, and I violated probation with a technical violation, smoking marijuana. First violation, they sent me to prison. And when I got to prison, they sentenced me to 7.5 years in prison. And I remember when I first got there, I was nervous, I was scared. And they were telling me that you're Latino, you're good. You're always gonna be straight. You're Puerto Rican, right? I'm like, seguro, papi, yo soy boricua. So right there, I was already embraced by the Spanish community. But at the same time, when you're in prison, you don't want to look soft. And especially the way I grew up, I wanted to be in prison and I wanted to show that I was crazy too and I wanted respect and no one was gonna step on my toes. So I went and I would join the Latin Kings. And what we did was I was on observation from the beginning. And you go through 3 stages. You go through observation, probation, and then you join the gang. You get initiated completely. So while I was on observation, my first week in prison, I encountered a life flight. And the man got stabbed in his sleep. And it was the Latin Kings versus the Hebrew Israelites. And that was the first time I saw a man get stabbed in his sleep. And it was so crazy because I remember I was just being so green that I didn't even know what was going on. But I remember just sitting on my bunk and I was getting close to the Latin Kings already, and I was starting to have information of what was going on. And come to find out that there was a man in visitation doing some nasty things with a woman in front of another man's daughter. And they ended up going to the dorm, and I remember that they were saying that that was wrong, that was disgusting or whatever. And I remember that, they ended up fist fighting, and then the big heads ended up coming to the dorm, and there was just people in and out of the dorm. It looked like the projects, man. It was just crazy how prison was moving. It was just wide open. And I remember that they were trying to cause peace because these are 2 big organizations in the prison system, the Hebrew Israelites and the Almighty Land Kings. So if it will be the war, it'll be a great conflict. So I remember that the Kings wanted to have peace, but the other guy did not want peace because when they fought, he gave him a black eye. So I remember he was like, man, what you want to do? He was like, it's whatever you want to do. So he was like, all right, we're going to take it there. But the guy slept on the Latin King dude and he stabbed him in his sleep. And he said, pray to Yahweh now. And he went to just stabbing him. And he life flighted him. And when I witnessed this, I seen the blood everywhere. And all the police came in. And I remember I was trying to join them. So I wanted to help them. And I remember they told me, you just sit on your rack. And there was another man, his name was he has a life sentence. And he ended up fighting the police and he knocked one of the police out and they ended up jumping on him and they beat him up bad. Both those guys went to see him. One of the guys got life flighted to a helicopter to a hospital, almost lost his life. And the war broke out. And when I tell you that almost all the Latin Kings were getting shut down by the Hebrews, it was getting real bad. God is so good that he transferred me that following week before the true war broke out on that compound. And I remember I had a friend named who was a Latin King, and they almost killed him. They said that the rumor was that they broke his elbows and his knees and that he was hanging off the rail, on the top rail of the second floor on the dorm. And we was in our dorm. This was in ACI, in our dorm. A lot of you will know this dorm, and you know that our dorm was down the hill past the property room. And our dorm was full of killers, murderers, drug dealers, and addiction, and everything else that you could think of. So it was a very, very bad environment. And God transferred me to the West unit, and things kind of settled down. And I remember I was still in the process of becoming a Latin King, and I got put on probation. Now was my time, that was my time to prove myself worthy to these men. And I was just stabbing people, I was robbing, I was just trying to put a name for myself that men could fear me and respect me in prison. So when I walk around a compound, I'll be saluted or recognized. And I remember one time we had a brother named who knocked out a gangster disciple, and he was the head. And when he knocked him out, it was about a fan. So the gangster disciple was sick and he wanted the fans off. So Voodoo said, man, whoever turns on this fan, I'm gonna knock you out. So the gangster disciple goes into the booth and he tells the dude, he's like, hey, turn on the fans, he told the officer. So they turned on the fan. So Buddha said, man, who turned on this fan? So I remember the gangster disciple said, I turned it on. What you gonna do? And he knocked him out. So when he knocked him out, he fell and cracked his head open and his face was swole. And remember, this is the head of a gangster disciple, so you can only imagine how his brothers felt when they actually seen him on the compound. So we all went to rec, but before rec even got called, I remember walking and I seen one of my brothers coming up to me and he was like, yo, we're gonna go to war with the G's. And when I looked behind me, not even realizing what's going on, when I looked behind me, I seen about 70 to 100 G's, gangster disciples, ready to rock out, loading up. And it was only 7 Latin Kings on the compound and probably 3 probates. And I was with a brother named and I remember he told me, he said, go to Colombia and go get the knives. He said, we're going to war today. So I went and I got us some big old knives. I'm talking about machetes, rusty and all. I was making sure that we were going to do damage to them because I knew we were outnumbered. So I got the rustiest knife. And I remember when we was walking to the rec yard, told me, today you're going to prove yourself what you say you be saying. And I was like, all right. And that day, we went to the rec yard and it was just mayhem. We were just fighting, arguing, we were stabbing, and the police came, they were spraying, they made us get on the floor. They loaded up a bus. I ended up getting away, acting like I was doing pull-ups, and I sunk my knife into the dirt. And I went back to the dorm, and I remember I put my knife under the pillow, and there was already 3 gangster disciples there, and there was a Latin disciple that was in the dorm. His name was and he was my friend. He was cool people, man. He was Latino too, so he's like, yo, what's up, we good? And I was like, yeah, we all right. But I ain't trust them. And the other ones, the other 2 disciples, they were looking at me, and they were just not sure of what to do or whatever. But I kept it cool, and I just knew how to move to make sure I didn't get caught slipping. Well, come to find out that next morning they did a shakedown and they found the knife under my pillow, man. And they ended up putting me in the box. I did about 70-something days in the box. They didn't see me, thank God. And they walked me across the compound in my boxers, man. And the freezing cold, man, the embarrassment. And I remember I got sent to the main unit. And when I got sent to the main unit, I got out the box. And all the Latin Kings got put under investigation. I'm the only one on the compound with 2 other probates. And this was my moment of truth. I had something to prove off rip. I got me the biggest knife I could find. And I was gonna make sure that the Latin King name was still on the compound, right? So we got these probates and we're just walking around. We cutting people in canteen line. We letting them know, man, King's going first. This is what it is and this is what it ain't. And if anybody don't like it, y'all know it's up there. So everyone knew what time it was and they respected it. So I remember there was a guy named that I know out here from the streets. And he used to give me shrooms out here when I was a jitterbug. And I ended up seeing him, and he did not recognize me. And he sprung out on Tunchi on this time. And he's been on the compound for 5 days. And I remember he sign languaged me on the window. He's like, yo, you King? And I got offended off rip. And I was like, what's up? Who's you? And he was like, oh, I'm a King. So I was like, we'll be over there. So when we went over there, I was like, how you been on the compound for 5 days and now you just saying you a King? And he was like, oh no, I was just checking out the environment, da. And I was like, what camp you came from? And he said he came from Calhoun. Little did he know we had connections with other prisons in the state, in the Florida State prisons. So we called over there to Calhoun. They said green light him. That he ran away with 2 bombs. When a bomb is an ounce of tunchi or weed or molly, whatever it is. So now he ran away with a bomb of tunchi from the gangster disciples, and he ran away with a bomb of tunchi from the Latin Kings from the compound Calhoun, and he got transferred to us, and they wanted us to green light him. That means finish him. So I went and asked permission from my head at the time, who was in the box, named, and he was telling us no, that he owes him money. And I remember he owed him about $300. And he was just like, make sure he pay me my money by Friday. And I was like, all right. So I told him. And I remember he was just walking with us. you know, he got accustomed to us because I told him, I was like, yeah, you're going to be good, man. No one's going to do nothing to you. You're straight. I was like, as long as you pay the money, you're good. He's like, all right, man. And mind you, I told you that he was somebody that I knew out here in the street, and he did not recognize me because I was already tatted up. When I was out here in the street, I was skinny on drugs. So now I'm in prison. I got a little bulk, and I'm a little bit taller because I'm older. And I was like, you don't remember me, man? He's like, nah, man. He's like, damn, man, you do look familiar. I said, I'm his brother. And he was like, oh, yeah, man, I do know you. And he was like, Manito, please, man, on your face, man, tell the bros that, man, I'm good people, man, that I'm good, man. And I was like, yo, I got you, bro. I'm going to talk to them. So mind you, I go to my head and I speak to him. And I tell him, listen, I know this man from the street. He's just bad on drugs. I said, give him a chance, man, to bounce back. He was like, all right, now, if this comes back on you, it's going to be you that's going to get it. I said, don't worry. He's going to pay the money. He got you. That was the worstest mistake I ever did in my life. So now time comes by, I let him know, listen, you're good. You just need to pay the money and you're straight. No one's gonna mess with you, I promise. So Friday comes, he's avoiding me. And now I'm just like, man, I know this guy's not playing me, man. So while he's avoiding me, he goes to chow by himself, and usually he goes to chow with us. He's last in line. I'm thinking he's about to check in, going to protective custody. And then I remember he was like, I was like, yo, I was like, where you going? What you doing? He's like, oh, no, I'm about to get on the jack in quad 2. And I was like, there ain't no jack in quad 2. There's a jack in quad 4 with the 13s. I remember it was he's from Tampa, and I was real close to them. And they were going to let me use the jack so we could get this money transaction, right? And he was trying to go to another quad. And I was like, yo, what you doing, man? Ain't no jack over there. Yo, man, stop playing with me, man. We're going to go over here. So a blood comes up to us, and he's like, yo, what y'all doing with this man? He owes me money. And I was like, who he owe? I was like, he owe my brother $300. I said, he paying my brother first, and that's what it is. And he was like, $300? He was like, oh, man, he only owe me 50. He was like, yeah, man, y'all handle that. So we go to the room. We call his baby mama. I know from when I was out here in the street, and I was a jitterbug. She's an older woman. She used to call me baby daddy. And when we called her, and I told her what was going on, I told her it was me, and she was like, oh my God. And I was like, listen, I'm here right now, and he owes some money. I was like, if he pays the money, he's gonna be okay. And she snapped. She was like, I'm not paying no more money. He's dead, da da da. She hung up the phone. He tries to run out the room. And when he runs out the room, the 13 closes the door and go, and slams the door. Bang! He's locked in there with the lions now. And we just start devouring him. We beating him up. Bam, 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 bam. I remember the probate had a giant knife, about, I want to say at least almost a foot long, rusty. And he was going to stab him in the neck. And I stopped him because I know I'm in this room. And if I catch a body, if he kills him in this room, I'm going to catch his body as well. Now remember, I'm from the streets, so I'm super smart. I know how to get out of a situation, so I stopped him. And I was like, no, don't stab him, don't stab him. I remember I punched him in the nose, and his whole nose bursted. And I was just like, you don't ever disrespect the nation. You don't ever do what you did. What you doing stealing? You crazy? You don't do that, da, da, da. He was crying, saying sorry. And I was told him, I was like, you get up out this room while I had this man kill you. You understand me? And stop playing with money. And he went on about his business. Well, tell me how this crazy mother sucker goes to a whole nother dorm, and he's telling a whole nother gang how these flakes beat him up, because his whole face was messed up. We damaged him bad. And we were like, oh, really? Oh, yeah? So we going to chow. His dorm was in front of us. And I said, and he looks at me. And I said, these flakes is coming to see you after chow. And he goes right up to the officer, and he points at me. He said, hey, man, that man's trying to kill me. And they put him in cuffs and put him in a cage. And I was like, what you doing? And he was telling me to suck his private part. He was like, mama beat you, la, la, la. And I was like, yo. So in that time frame, I had a brother named from Little Havana, an older Cuban man, psychotic. He will stab you in a heartbeat. He gets transferred to my compound, and he sees what's going on. He takes over, and now I'm under his wing because he's been in the nation for so long. And he was a very good brother, man. He treated me real good. He told me I was like the son he never had, man. I know about his whole life. He never opens up to anybody. He's a real soul that's real dark, man. I pray for that man. And I remember he was gonna start a war again with the Hebrew Israelites. And mind you, we're back in our dorm, and I remember he's trying to get the door popped, right? And he's like, yo, he's telling the runaround, open the door, open the door. The runaround's a Hebrew Israelite. And he's like, man, on my time, I don't do it on your time. He's like, what? So he's screaming to who was a probate at the time. He's telling him, give me the knife, give me the knife. So he's telling him, give him the knife. I tell no, because I didn't want my brother to go. I loved him. I didn't want him to go rock out, crash out like that. And I didn't want another war to break out. So he still gives him the knife. The door swing. Mind, just early in the morning, man. You gotta wake up and have your shoes on, off rip. You gotta be prepared. There's no slipping. If you lacking, you're dead. So I remember I went out there and he's telling the dude, one of the other Hebrew Israelites, and he's like, hey man, you disrespecting my brother. Said, I don't care if that was your sister. He's like, when I say pop that door, you pop that door. And he took out that knife. And when they seen that knife, I was like, yo. I was like, listen, man. I was like, listen, my brother's crazy, man. Just let it go. Just let it be. And they let it go. So mind you, that same night, we sitting and eating Cuban crackers and we drinking coffee. And I remember some dude comes up to us and laughs in our face. And looks at me. He goes, did he just laugh at us? And I was like, oh, man. I said, nah, man, don't think about it like that, man. Don't think about it like that. He was like, I got something for him. I had a crazy little white boy bunkie, man, bugged out. And
excuse me.
I remember my bunkie used to talk to the walls. So he was a little psyched out. He was burnt out in the brain. And that same dude was in my room. I'm on the top tier looking down. And I see him talking to my bunkie in the room. And I look to the side and I see coming after him like a shark. And I see the knife in the jacket. And I was like, oh, man. So I go downstairs, and I was like, hey, listen, man, get out my room for my brother coming here. Beat him to the punch. He's like, you laughed in my face last night? And the guy was like, no, never. He's like, so you calling me a liar? And he was like, oh, he didn't even know what to say. And he slapped him. Bah! He slapped him so hard, the man starts bleeding out his nose. When he turned around, stabbed him in his butt. Stabbed him in his a-hole, man. And then he was gonna stab him in the face, and I stopped him. I said, yo, what are you doing? I'm in the room, what you doing? He's like, you'll be under investigation, you'll be fine, you'll get out. I'm like, nah, man, I don't wanna go to the box at all, man. I just got out the box. So, mind you, the dude just got stabbed in his butt. We send him to his room and we tell him, you're not allowed to go out and eat chow, nothing. And we gave him a super day until he healed up. And I remember, man, I got transferred, and throughout that time, man, I got transferred back to the West Unit. Now, mind you, I'm in the main unit and I'm around the West Unit and the main unit is a whole different environment, right? So the West Unit was a little bit more calm. So when I came back from the main unit, I was wild. I had this crazy ambition of just like this thugness, this wildness. And when I brought that to the West Unit, even the officers were like, Valle, I don't know what you going on, but you must want to go back to the main unit. And the compound was sweet. You could walk around, door swinging and stuff, you know. But I didn't care, man. I was just violating, doing whatever. It's count time and I'm walking around the compound with a $100 bag canteen and a knife on me. And I'm passing on phones and drugs and transferring this and that. I didn't care. And I remember I called a DR, man. They sent me back to the main unit. And I remember I ended up getting transferred to Blackwater because I was in M dorm, murder dorm. And
listen, if you've done any time, I'm talking about a county jail, state penitentiary, federal, or even drug programs, whatever. If you want to share your story on this channel, go ahead and email me at eithekingbooking. Go ahead and put your stories in the comments below. If there's anything that I talked about slightly, you want me to go more in depth on, or anything I haven't talked about at all, and it's a good idea, drop it in the comments. Let me know. And also remember, I am a rapper. My artist name is EI the King. You can find my music on all platforms. I also have another channel, YouTube channel, my official artist channel, EI the King. And I also have another podcast. It's called Let Me Talk Bro, where I talk more so about my life, music, ministry, and all these things. Also, I have a Patreon with exclusive content. Everything is in the description below. So listen, man, till the next time, it's your boy, EI the King.